Welcome to In the Quiet of My Soul, a collection of poems and reflections written by Dr. Espie Claudio. In these pages and now in this audio-visual journey, you'll find moments of stillness, gratitude, and faith, inviting you to pause and listen to the quiet of your own soul. Please note the narration you hear is computer-generated using text-to-speech technology.
Mindfulness by Espie Claudio. You've probably seen the word mindfulness in self-help books, Buddhist teachings, or even from modern-day philosophers. But what does it really mean? Mindfulness simply means being aware of what you're doing right now, in the present moment. It means paying attention to what's in front of you, to what's happening around you, to how you're feeling, what you're thinking, how you're acting, and what your intentions are. That sounds like a lot, right? But when our mind is filled with thoughts about the past or worries about the future, it can pull us away from the present. Thinking about the past can bring regret. Thinking about the future can bring fear. And neither of those helps us live in the now. As Catholics, or whatever faith you follow, you can combine mindfulness with your spiritual life. Being present doesn't mean forgetting God. Actually, you can invite God into the moment. Feel His presence in the little things. Be thankful for the ability to think, to feel, to experience whatever it is you're going through. Whether you're happy, sad, excited, or frustrated, thank God for your emotions. Those feelings make us human. If we only felt happiness all the time, life would feel flat. The beauty of life lies in its highs and lows, just like a painting. It's the contrast of lights and shadows that makes the picture beautiful. So don't be discouraged when you're in a moment of sadness or struggle. Life isn't meant to be one straight road or an endless climb upward. It has mountains, valleys, colors, and shades. Just like nature or art, the variety makes life beautiful. Pay attention to those moments. Even sadness has its own beauty. Each feeling, each experience, becomes part of the masterpiece of your life. Don't focus only on the negatives. There's good even in the bad, and sometimes the bad ends up being a blessing in disguise. Confusing? I get it. But when you really think deeply about it, you'll see. Everything has a reason, even pain, even death. Now back to mindfulness. You can practice it anywhere. While walking, thank God for your feet, for the ground you walk on, for the wind, the air, the ability to move. If you have 2 feet, thank God. If you have one, thank God. If you have none, still thank God. You have hands, a heart, a mind. There is always something to be grateful for. Many books make mindfulness sound complicated, but at its core, it's simple. Pay attention to your blessings. Even the hard parts of life are part of the blessing. Don't call them negative, call them necessary. Because the bad often carries its own hidden good. And some people might say, well, how can I stay in the moment if I need to plan or worry about bills or a meeting tomorrow? The answer? Make a moment for that too. Set aside time to think, plan, or even worry. Just don't let it hijack your other moments. Worrying has a place, but it doesn't have to be everywhere. Be mindful of it. Schedule your worries if you must, and even in those moments, notice the feelings, the thoughts, the process. That too is mindfulness. Think of time like money. You spend it, so budget it. How much of your day do you want to spend worrying? How much time do you want to use for joy, for errands, for prayer, for work, for rest? Don't try to live your whole life all at once. Just live today, because your days become your weeks become your months, and those months shape your life. So just breathe, be here, and pay attention.
Break Your Life into Moments by Espie Claudio. If you try to see your entire life all at once, it can feel overwhelming. Like looking at a tall staircase, you might wonder, how will I ever reach the top? But life isn't meant to be climbed in one giant leap. You take it step by step, and if you look too far ahead, you might trip and miss the step right in front of you. So focus on the moment. Focus on the next step. And trust that each step, done with care and intention, will eventually take you higher. Even if you don't make it to the very top, you'll look back knowing you honored every step. That's where real peace comes from, valuing the journey itself. God's knowledge and our free will. Some people struggle with the idea that God knows everything, our beginning, our end, and all that's in between. They ask, if God already knows, are we just robots following a script? Here's the mystery. God knows the future not because He forces us, but because He fully knows us, even the choices we will freely make. He knows your heart, your intentions, and even the decisions you'll change at the very last moment. So are we predestined? Not in the sense that our choices don't matter. Our choices do matter, but God already sees the outcome because His knowledge is beyond time. That's hard for us to grasp. So instead of overthinking, the simplest way to live is this: do your best in every moment. Live as if you are seeing yourself through God's eyes. Live each day knowing God is watching, not as a harsh judge, but as a loving Father cheering you on. This should inspire you to give your best energy to the day in front of you. Success, struggles, and where we belong. God doesn't measure success the way the world does. He never asked us to all become rich, famous, or powerful. If everyone were rich, who would serve and clean? If everyone were poor, who would provide jobs and opportunities? The truth is, we need each other. Rich or poor, strong or weak, each role has value. Sometimes people dream of wealth, power, or prestige, but even those dreams come with heavy burdens. Think of billionaires and world leaders. They may have influence, but their lives are filled with stress, responsibility, and sleepless nights. The Bible even warns how hard it is for the rich to enter God's kingdom, comparing it to a camel passing through the eye of a needle. So before you envy another person's life, also consider the weight of their cross. What truly matters. At the end of our lives, no one will count our trophies, possessions, or bank accounts. What will matter is this: did you live each moment with faith? Did you try your best with what God gave you? Did you pray for wisdom and align your actions with God's will? God does not condemn us when our best wasn't perfect. He knows our limits. What matters is that we did our best with sincerity, always turning to Him for guidance. So don't measure your life by the big picture alone. Break it into moments. Live each moment fully with prayer, faith, and trust. Do your best and let God handle the rest. A Dentist's True Legacy, Prevention and Education by Espie Claudio. How do you know if your dentist is really good? You can't tell on the first visit. The real measure is at the end of your life, by how many of your natural teeth are still with you. A truly good dentist focuses on prevention. They carefully monitor your fillings for shrinkage, leakage, or stains, and repair them before the decay reaches the nerve. If cared for this way, your teeth can last with only a few well-maintained fillings instead of crowns. Why avoid crowns? Because a crown means part of your tooth has already been lost. While crowns can look beautiful on the outside, their margins often extend below the gums, where plaque and bacteria thrive. If the fit isn't perfect, the gums can get irritated and diseased. So prevention, not repair, should be your dentist's top goal. What makes a dentist truly good? Find one who educates you. Most people don't think about their dental health daily. Motivation has to come from your dentist, who takes the time to explain how to maintain your teeth and restorations. Education doesn't earn money. It's not covered by insurance. It takes time and even reduces income, since fewer teeth may need repair. So if your dentist spends time motivating and teaching you, that's a clear sign they genuinely care for you, not just their business. Oika. Why not one dentist for everything? It's not that dentists can't do all procedures, most can, but it's impossible to be the best at all fields. Dentistry has many specialties: orthodontics, pediatrics, periodontics, surgery, endodontics, and each requires deep training. Take root canals. Years ago, x-rays were 2D and often unclear. Then came apex locators, microscopes, and finally CT scans that reveal hidden canals and angles. These advances made treatment safer, but also more expensive. Specialists invest in these tools and training, while general dentists wisely refer complex cases. The same is true for implants. They may look as simple as screwing into wood, but the human mouth is far more complex. Nerves, bone density, and nearby teeth all matter. Success rates have improved from 80% to much higher today thanks to CT scans, digital planning, and navigation systems that guide the dentist's hand in real time. But the technology can cost more than hundreds of thousands. Specialists dedicate their focus and resources to mastering it, while general dentists provide balance and prevention for the whole mouth. Oh, crowns and technology. Some clinics now offer same-day crowns with scanners and 3D printers. While this is convenient, the equipment costs so much that offices must do a high volume of crowns to recover their investment. This naturally encourages more crown treatments. But if your dentist believes in prevention, they may simply send impressions to a laboratory, which already has the equipment and expertise. This is more practical, cost-effective, and often results in better quality for patients who value preservation over speed. Group practices versus personal care. Because of high equipment costs, many dentists today form group practices to share expenses. This may give access to the latest technology, but it risks losing personalization. When patients see different dentists each visit, no one really gets to know their history. Continuity of care is lost. A dentist who has seen you for years understands your mouth better and can focus on long-term preservation, not just treating problems as they appear. A truly good dentist keeps learning, attends specialist conferences, and knows when to refer you. They match patients to the right care based on safety and trust, not just on price. A word on cleanings. One subtle but important sign. If your dentist personally does your cleaning. Cleanings are when early problems can be spotted, restorations reviewed, and education reinforced. Hygienists do great work, but their role is focused on cleaning. When a dentist does it themselves, they see the whole picture, including your restorations and overall dental health. So, what defines a good dentist? Not just someone who makes a perfect crown, not just someone who owns fancy machines, but someone who educates and motivates you, prevents more than repairs, knows when to refer, continues learning, personally cares for your long-term health. In the end, the mark of a good dentist is in how much he doesn't earn, because prevention always costs less than treatment. The true measure of a dentist is seen at life's end, when your natural teeth remain preserved by prevention and education. Self-mindfulness. By Espie Claudio. Hi there. Right now, I'm driving along Highway 101, heading to Santa Rosa from San Francisco. Earlier, I didn't feel like talking. The traffic was intense, the streets were chaotic. But now, I'm on a long, straight stretch of road. No lane changes, not much distraction. So my mind begins to wander again, and I find myself reflecting, once more, on mindfulness. I've talked about this before, but there's still more to explore. Most people define mindfulness as simply paying attention to the present moment. But for me, it's deeper than that. It's not just about focusing on what's around you. It's also tuning into what's within you. Right now, I'm driving and talking at the same time. My attention is split. What I'm saying is my main focus, and the road, thankfully, is in my peripheral awareness. That in itself is a form of mindfulness. But mindfulness also means being aware of your feelings, your emotions, your body, your state of mind. It's not just about the visible things in front of you, but also the invisible ones inside. That's what I've been experimenting with lately, how our emotions affect us physically. I once tried this little test. I thought of something really sad, something heavy. And then I took my blood pressure. No change. Then I thought of something that really annoyed me, something upsetting. And just like that, my blood pressure shot up from 120 to 185. We often run from our feelings or distract ourselves from them. But what if we studied them instead? Like scientists observing ourselves with curiosity, not judgment. Self-awareness doesn't cost anything. It's free, and it's life-changing. Just the other day, I was rushing from a flight to a seminar. Navigating airports, finding the rental car, tracking schedules, it was overwhelming. But instead of letting the chaos control me, I stayed mindful of what I was feeling. I noticed my chest was tight, my breathing shallow. Not anxiety exactly, but just pressure, tension, fatigue. And I thought, okay, this is what it is. Mindfulness is also about acceptance. You don't always need to change how you feel. Sometimes you just need to acknowledge it, and that alone brings peace. Later at the seminar, one class was full, another was disappointing. I felt tempted to get frustrated, but instead, I chose to accept it. I walked away from that class and felt okay. I didn't force myself to keep going. I allowed myself a break. I chose to have fun instead. While walking around outside, I felt the tightness again in my chest, along with a bit of anxiety. But this time, it didn't make sense. I wasn't stressed. I wasn't working. I was just wandering. And that's when I realized, even in rest, we sometimes carry tension. We rush through relaxing moments just like we rush through the hard ones, always eager to get to the next thing. But what if the present moment is the very thing we've been rushing toward? Later, stuck in San Francisco traffic, I caught myself feeling irritated. I said to myself, wow, I'm driving in San Francisco. Not everyone can do this. These hills, these narrow streets, and look at me, I'm doing it. And just like that, my chest relaxed. I smiled. The pressure melted away, and appreciation took its place. That's the power of mindfulness. It can literally shift your body. It can lift your mood, calm your mind, and bring you back to peace. At that moment, I wasn't just getting through my drive. I was experiencing it, fully mindfully, and I realized not everyone knows how to do this. That's why I'm sharing it with you. You see, in life, we do so many things to get by. Travel, shop, entertain ourselves, find distractions. But what if we turned inward and learned to enjoy our own company? To be curious about ourselves? Even pressure, when chosen consciously, can become pleasure. So here's what I leave you with today. Be mindful of what you feel. Don't rush to fix it. Don't run from it, just notice. Accept it and gently remind yourself, you are here. You are aware you are enough. This is self-mindfulness, and it's a gift you can give yourself, anytime, anywhere.
Who Am I? By Espie Claudio. Who are you? Who am I? Who are they? How do we define ourselves? Who am I as I say I am? Who am I as others say I am? Who am I as God says I am? It's difficult, isn't it? There are so many different perspectives. But hopefully, the most correct one is, who I am as God says I am who I am through God's eyes. But that's also hard to guess. How do we even begin to understand how God sees us? Still, it's good to reflect on it. At least you'll have some idea of where you stand before God. But how do we define ourselves? Can I say I'm intelligent? Can I say I'm kind? Can I say I'm happy? We can't define ourselves in just one word. Maybe I'm smart in math, but clueless in English. Maybe I'm wise in life, but struggle in academics. There are so many aspects of life and so many parts of ourselves. So how can we sum that up in just one word? Am I kind? Maybe I'm kind to my friends but mean to my sibling. Maybe I'm kind to animals but unkind to people. So we can't define a person as simply kind. There are layers to every word. And maybe I'm kind now but not later. I may not get angry quickly now, but later I might explode. Aside from every word having depth and complexity, we also change. So who we are now may be different later. We're not defined by a single moment in time, we evolve. Maybe today you're unkind, but tomorrow you've learned and changed. As we learn or unlearn things, we grow. So if even we ourselves can't fully define who we are, how much more difficult is it for others to define us?
When someone calls you arrogant, mean, or stupid, why would you believe it? We ourselves don't even fully understand who we are, because words are not enough to define us, and only God knows the full picture from beginning to end. He alone knows the millions of words that could describe us. So, if someone says something negative about you, especially during a fight, like, "You're always like this," why let it affect you? It's not the truth. Only God can judge. That's why sometimes even in prayer meetings or religious groups, people become judgmental. They study what's good and bad, and then when they hear something about a person, they suddenly think, "That's who you are. You need to change." Maybe it's their obligation to correct others, but not in a way that's personal or harsh. Correct gently, not in a way that sounds like judging, because you probably do the same thing or have your own issues too. How can you judge someone and say he, she is bad? But think, what if you were born in their place? With their parents, their upbringing, their poverty, their lack of education, or different religion or no religion at all? What if everyone around them was doing those same things, and they simply followed without knowing it was right or wrong? If you were born into their exact life, you'd probably be just like them. You'd think the same, act the same. So you have no right to get angry or judge. Whatever definition you place on someone should start with understanding. Even if there's someone you dislike, have compassion, not hate. Just be thankful you weren't born into that situation. So defining people is hard. In short, don't define, don't judge. We can only make guesses, momentary and superficial guesses. And if we do, keep it light, no anger, no jealousy. Because honestly, there's nothing in this world worth being jealous of. Look at all the successful people. Do you really want their lives? Do you want to be like Michael Jackson? If you envy someone, make sure you envy their entire life, not just the good parts. Sure, someone may be rich and famous, but at what cost? So whatever you have, that's your best life. Because no life is perfect. Every life has good and bad. Wherever you are, just live it fully in every moment. Make every moment great in God's eyes. And that's what matters. Don't define yourself. Just do your best. Don't believe everything others say about you. And as much as possible, use psychology with God. Try to psychologize God. Try to imagine what God might be thinking about you. That's what matters most. Not what people say, not even what you say about yourself. Just how God sees you. God alone knows who and what you are.
Life is Predictable by Espie Claudio. Life is like a movie. You don't need to personally experience everything to understand what's happening in the world. Just like films, life offers stories of suffering, joy, triumph, and failure. And from these, we can see ourselves, relate, and even predict what may come our way. My point is this: life is predictable. We are never exempted from the struggles and patterns around us. And because of that, we can prepare mentally, emotionally, and even with a bit of humor to handle whatever comes next. Take my own story as an example. I grew up in a poor family in the Philippines. At some point, I dared to dream. What if I apply to go to the US? At the time, it felt impossible. You had to show wealth, properties, and financial stability, things I didn't have. So I applied, and I was denied. I tried again, denied. Tried again, denied. 5 or 6 times I faced rejection, until miraculously I was finally approved. Then came another challenge, starting life in America. A new country, a new culture, and a language that wasn't mine. I had to ask myself, should I go? What if I failed? What if I lost my job, got sick, or faced problems I wasn't prepared for? But in life, you have to think deeply and weigh your choices. Yes, there are risks, but there are also opportunities you'll never have if you don't take the step forward. Many of us come to America and find success. We earn more, maybe buy a house, enjoy comforts we never had back home. But with that comfort comes attachment. You work double shifts, take loans, and push yourself just to maintain a lifestyle. You forget that back in the Philippines, you lived on less and still survived happily. Here, the pressure to keep up with others, the fear of losing status, and the attachment to comfort bring stress, sickness, and sometimes even death. This is what I've observed. Much of our unhappiness comes from comparison. You're sad because you drive a Corolla while your neighbor drives a Lexus. But imagine if you lived in a poor village. Wouldn't you feel rich with that same Corolla? Happiness shifts depending on who you compare yourself to. Even if you became a millionaire, you might still feel small if everyone around you is a billionaire. And here is another truth about life's predictability. If your aim is to be rich, it's almost certain you will spend more time and energy chasing money, often at the expense of what nourishes the soul. The pursuit of wealth may deprive you of life's deeper joys: worship, charity, true friendship, and peace of mind. On the other hand, if you aim for a simpler life, it is just as predictable that you will have more time for what truly matters: time with loved ones, service to others, and space to enrich your soul. Think about this. Everybody has a different amount of money. Some are poor, some are rich, and some are in between. But one thing we all have equally is time. 24 hours in a day, 7 days a week. That's the one resource no one can buy more of. Yet, isn't it strange that some people seem to have all the time in the world for what matters most, while others feel like they never have enough? The difference lies in how we choose to spend our hours. When you chase wealth endlessly, your time gets consumed by work, stress, and pressure. But when you choose simplicity, you free up more of your hours to enjoy the things that truly give meaning: building relationships, serving others, deepening your faith, and living fully in the present. And here's the most unpredictable part of life. While money can always be earned, lost, and regained, time can never be replaced. None of us knows how much of it we have left. Some live for decades, others only for a short while. That unpredictability should remind us that the real measure of a good life is not how much money we accumulated, but how wisely we use the time God gave us. In the end, life is predictable, not because we know every detail of the future, but because the patterns are clear. Challenges will come, comfort can become a trap, and comparison will steal joy. But if we prepare ourselves with strength, humility, and gratitude, and learn to live below our means, we will free up more of our time and treasure to devote to what truly matters most. Creating Thoughts by Espie Claudio. The world is full of suffering. Almost everyone, if you look deeper, carries pain, sometimes hidden behind laughter, singing, or dancing. Happiness is often fleeting, but suffering lingers. We can't remove it entirely, but we can minimize it by consciously creating thoughts that help us resist temptation and avoid unnecessary pain. I used to wonder, why does God allow suffering? He didn't create it, but He allowed temptations. Life is not meant for us to suffer, but to choose. Temptation is the test, and resisting it can feel like suffering too. But if we train our minds to think differently, we can ease the struggle. Gambling, buying a chance. I once tried playing the roulette in Lake Tahoe. It began as entertainment, but guilt and loss soon followed. Then I asked myself, what am I really buying? I realized I was simply buying a chance. If I set my price, say $100, it's no different from paying for a meal or a movie. I could enjoy it without guilt because I stayed within my limits. But if one spends beyond their means, suffering surely follows. The key is to buy chances only from surplus, never from what you need for essentials. finances, needs versus wants money, troubles affect the poor, the middle class, and even the rich. The real issue is not how much we have, but whether we are aware of what we are doing with it. When we spend without thinking, we confuse wants with needs, and suffering follows. I looked back at my childhood in the Philippines. We had little, yet I was happy. No trips, no luxuries, yet joy was abundant. That taught me happiness isn't about how much we spend, it's a state of mind. Lowering our standard of living helps us avoid the endless cycle of envy and debt. When I think of a big house, I pray to God not to crave it. A beautiful home often comes with heavy mortgages, bills, and stress. If what you truly want is peace, don't chain yourself to a lifestyle that forces endless work with no freedom of flexibility. Happiness is not in the house, but in the peace of your heart. Antis. Everyday struggles, cleaning, and clutter. Even small things like cleaning can cause stress. A big house is lovely, but requires time and energy to maintain. If you don't have those, it may bring more frustration than joy. Again, priorities matter. Either accept the burden or don't chase what you cannot realistically manage. Taika, food and cravings. Choosing health temptation also appears in food. I loved meat, but later learned how hard it was for my body to digest. And after seeing how animals suffer in slaughterhouses, I created new thoughts. Every time I see meat, I remember their pain. Compassion replaced craving, and the temptation disappeared. Desires versus needs. The parking lesson. Even conveniences can trap us. I once longed for a car with a surround camera and felt miserable without it, forgetting that in the past, I parked perfectly without such technology. When I shifted my thoughts, practiced again, and trusted my ability, the suffering vanished. What I thought was a need was really just a desire. The core lesson. Life will always present temptations, cravings, and pressures, but suffering doesn't have to follow. The secret is creating counter thoughts that redirect our desires. When awareness becomes a habit, temptations fade and peace replaces them. So whenever stress arises, whether a tight chest, stiff neck, or restless mind, don't see it only as pain. See it as an invitation to stop, reflect, and create new thoughts. There's no single formula for everyone. Each of us must craft our own philosophy, our own method of staying free from suffering. In the end, it's not what we own, but how we think that determines whether we live in suffering or in peace. Regret Begins at the Start by Espie Claudio, huh? How's that possible? People ask whenever I say this. How can you regret something if it hasn't happened yet? Well, that's the power of meditation. If there's something you want to do, think about it first. Visualize it. Take the time to sit down, be quiet, and imagine what you plan to do, along with the possible good and bad consequences of your decisions and intentions. We all have the ability to anticipate outcomes. Life often requires us to choose between different evils, so at least choose the one you can bear. When you visualize the consequences and realize you can't handle them, then that's already a form of regret, before it even happens. The mind does not always distinguish between what's real and what's imagined. That's why when you think of something joyful or fantasize, you also feel happy, because your brain believes it's real. So, if you visualize the outcomes and realize you cannot take the bad that may result, regret it now, while it hasn't happened yet. It's like rewinding. Oops, it hasn't happened yet. Yay, I can still change my decision. For example, if you have a sibling you're upset with and keep ignoring them, what if something suddenly happens to them, like death? You might lose your sanity regretting that you didn't reconcile. But if you imagine this beforehand, you would have chosen to cherish each day and bond instead of holding grudges. That is regret at the beginning. Take another example. You feel too lazy to study. Now visualize yourself failing your subjects, crying, and realizing you can't afford to repeat because tuition is expensive. Maybe you won't even graduate. If that visualization hurts already, then regret it from the start. Change your intention while there's still time. With the power of silence and meditation, you can foresee many possibilities. Philosophers today call it meditation, but when I was young, I just called it deep thoughts or prayers. I often withdrew from the crowd, whether in Corregidor or under the pier, just to be alone with my thoughts. Even in high school, I reflected deeply. Do I want to study hard? But then, what about my social life? I chose balance. I didn't aim to be an honor student, but I wanted to enjoy both learning and friendships. Life is always about choices, even in the simplest things. Don't be surprised by results like, oh, I didn't get honors. Oh, I failed. Oh, I'm just average. These things don't come out of nowhere. You brought yourself there. That's the science of cause and effect. If you know the effect you want, trigger the cause. Don't just act blindly and let things happen. Think first about the effect, and then create the cause that will lead you there. Life, in a way, is like science. You make a guess, a hypothesis, and a conclusion. It's not exact, so you can experiment. That makes life more interesting. You observe your experiences and those of others, learning what causes lead to what outcomes. When you train your mind in observation, life becomes richer and you understand people better, why they are the way they are, and what they're going through. This is one way to make life more meaningful, instead of living blindly, just following the same predictable script. Be born, study, graduate, marry, have kids, buy a house, buy a car, get rich, and then die. If you only follow that one straight path and fail somewhere along the way, you'll feel lost or even depressed. That's why day-to-day intentions, planning, actions, reactions, and interactions matter. They make life playful and exciting. Focus on what's in front of you. Study today, work today, do your best today. The future will flow naturally from these daily choices. And that's really all God asks of us. Do your best. Even if your best doesn't measure up to Steve Jobs or Bill Gates, that doesn't matter. God won't judge you by someone else's best. He only looks at whether you are doing your best in the moment. What leads to regret is blind living, when you don't realize you aren't giving your best. That's when people end up depressed, haunted by if only. But if every day you know you did your best, then no matter what happens, you'll have no regrets. You can always say, that was my best. That's what I knew at the time. I cannot change it anymore. And with that, regret truly begins and ends at the start. The Deeper Meaning of Mindfulness by Espie Claudio. When we read self-help books or works by philosophers, mindfulness is usually described as paying attention to the present moment. That definition is true, but I believe mindfulness goes beyond simply being aware. Many avoid mentioning God when they write about mindfulness because they fear it sounds like religion. But life is not complete without Him, and our awareness is deepest when it connects us to His presence. Mindfulness is not only about noticing what is happening outside of us, but also about shaping our inner response. It is living from the inside out. In every moment, there is more than what our eyes see. Along with awareness, we must add gratitude, appreciation, and thankfulness to God, letting peace flow from within us outward. Inside-out living. Suppose someone treats you unkindly. At first, your instinct may be to feel hurt, angry, or defensive. But mindfulness reminds you that their behavior doesn't define your worth. Instead, you see that this person is troubled, angry, or not at peace. From the inside out, you can remain steady, peaceful, and compassionate. You don't have to absorb their negativity. You can recognize it for what it is and let it pass. Of course, if you cannot do this, it's also a signal that something inside you needs healing. Mindfulness reveals not only what others carry, but also what is unresolved in yourself. It is a practice of self-awareness. When you are at peace with yourself, when you know you have done your best, acted with reason, and can stand by your choices, you are free to meet the world from a place of strength. Seeing beyond words. Mindfulness also means seeing deeper than the surface. When you are talking to someone, don't just listen to their words. Look at their feelings, intentions, and the direction their thoughts are going. Be aware of causes and effects, not just appearances. This deeper awareness requires practice, but it allows you to understand others better and respond wisely instead of reacting blindly. Most people reveal themselves in unguarded moments. Their body language, facial expressions, and energy tell more than their words. As the saying goes, the eyes are the windows to the soul. When we are mindful, we see through those windows with compassion. Instead of judging quickly, we try to understand what someone is going through. This brings patience, empathy, and wisdom. Mindfulness as alignment. Another way to see mindfulness is alignment. Just as a musician tunes an instrument before playing, we must tune our hearts and minds before responding to life. If you feel upset or unsettled, but the moment calls for kindness, you pause, breathe, and bring yourself back into harmony so your inner state matches your outward response. True mindfulness means your thoughts, intentions, and actions flow together in harmony. This alignment makes you authentic. It prevents you from speaking kindly while showing anger on your face or acting calm while chaos stirs inside. Mindfulness helps you reset, choose harmony, and ensure that who you are within reflects what you express outwardly. Practicing mindfulness daily. Mindfulness is not pretense, it is conscious living. It is training the mind to respond with wisdom rather than impulse. When you practice every day, you learn to catch yourself before reacting unwisely. You learn to pause, reflect, and then act in a way that creates peace instead of conflict. Even actors and actresses, when preparing for a role, must align their emotions with their lines so the performance feels real. In life, mindfulness is our rehearsal and performance combined. We decide what role we want to play, not in pretense, but in conscious choice. And when we remember that God is both our audience and our director, it becomes easier to choose love, compassion, and kindness in every scene of life. Final thoughts. Mindfulness is not just paying attention to the present, it is creating alignment between your heart, mind, and actions. It is living inside out, with peace flowing outward, with compassion guiding your responses, and with God as your ultimate audience. Practice daily, mindfulness helps us choose wisely, live authentically, and reflect the love and goodness that makes life truly meaningful.